The world begins with you. This is one of my favorite concepts. It comes from the game The World Ends With You. And I don't know if they interpret it the way I'm interpreting it, but essentially it's like any other kind of divine spiritual truth where it's like, as above, so below, as within, so without, the law of attraction, like you are the creator of your universe, of your reality. I want to go over this concept in more detail and kind of give you examples on how this actually applies, like not only physically, like physically, psychologically, spiritually, psychospiritually, let's use that. Once you have this awareness of how you are creating your world, kind of like how, this world is just a dream or a game that is like, and everything is kind of like an aspect of you that you're putting out into this game, into this stream. So once you have awareness of that, it's like, well, you just have a bigger picture understanding of how the universe works, and navigating through that with that understanding, I feel like ultimately makes things more comfortable, or at least less anxious, because it's like you can approach it from the perspective of like this is all just a game. So the first thing physically is like there is this saying where this universe is a fractal universe. So a fractal is essentially like anything that's a fractal is like if you cut out a small piece from a fractal object, that small piece has all the information of the bigger object itself. One example I like to use is like if you just take a broccoli, like a vegetable, broccoli, and you take like you cut off like a little piece of broccoli, like the little piece essentially is still, it looks the same as the bigger piece, but just smaller and less detailed, right? And it's like if you take a smaller piece from the smaller piece, and it's like you still have, it's like a tiny mini broccoli, but it's still the entirety of the broccoli, right? And it's like you can just get smaller and smaller and smaller, and perhaps it gets less and less detailed. But nevertheless, that is still a mini version of the bigger version. So if you understand the mini version, then you want to understand the bigger version. So even if you understand the mini version on a kind of a blurry, kind of not as detailed scale, it's like the fact you're able to understand that still gives you a lot of understanding of the bigger thing. So I want to give you a few other examples from the internet that kind of show this concept. Like a brain cell is very much like the universe of how that works, the neural networks of a brain cell. Or if you look at how solar system works, there's this one big thing in the middle, and then there's these like spheres spinning around it that kind of looks like an atom. Or even if you look at stock charts, if you trade stocks or cryptocurrencies, like the patterns you find on a minute chart, you can find on an hour chart, on a daily chart, on a weekly chart. It's like the same things always get repeated over and over again, and it's like, if you trade, it's like, the patterns on a minute chart is not as reliable as ones on, let's say, a weekly chart. It's like a small to a big scale, but it's still has the same behavior. Understanding it on a small level helps you understand it on a bigger level. Like a tree trunk and a fingerprint, a placenta and a tree, lungs and a tree branch, veins and a river network. So it's like these physical manifestations of these like seemingly massive things, like like a fucking solar system, but yet there's a minute representation of it as well within ourselves, within our own atoms and everything. And it's like the problems of the world. So now this is where it gets a little bit woo-woo. The problems of the world on a massive scale tends to originate from a problem within ourselves that is creating the massive problem out there. Whatever is happening in your external reality that is giving you a certain trigger, a certain charge, it's like, well, actually, there is something within you that is creating that in order for you to see itself. So then it's like, if you understand what's within you, then you can understand what's without you, outside of you. I want to share a story of the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is a Hawaiian prayer. And essentially, it goes like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, and you just say it over and over again to a certain, let's say, an issue or a problem or a feeling that you have, or you just speak it to the divine. It doesn't really matter too much. And the story goes, there was a mental hospital where the patients were really crazy and they didn't know how to cure anyone. And they were running out of ideas, and they saw that there was some like woo-woo kind of doctor that could heal people with like praying, right? So they were like, well, we tried everything, let's just give this guy a shot. So they called this guy up, and he came to the hospital, and he never even met any of the patients in person. He just looked at each person's chart, and he said the prayer, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, over and over again. And would you believe it? Over time, all the patients were healed, and the hospital had to they had to shut it down because, well, there were no patients, right? So then there was no need for it to be around anymore. So I think this story is fucking insane because it's like, whoa, the doctor, and this is a real story, by the way, from what I know. The doctor was like, well, these sick people, they're only sick because there's something within me that is sick, that is creating these sick people in the world. So instead of focusing on healing them, it's like instead of focusing on changing the mirror, I'm gonna heal myself, heal the thing that's causing the reflection in the mirror, because ultimately healing myself will heal the external thing outside that is representation of the things unhealed within me. Changing what you do will change what is being reflected in the mirror. If we bring it down more psychologically, like what you get triggered by other people is often something within you that you haven't dealt with or you haven't healed or you don't like about yourself. So for example, I used to have a friend that talks a lot and I would always get annoyed, but I never say anything about it because a part of me was like, it's not okay for me to tell her to shut up or to put on my boundaries or say what I was really feeling. And then a part of me was being resentful. It's like, oh, she's so annoying, yet she's not letting me tell her that she's being annoying, and etc., etc. But ultimately, I could have said something, but a part of me felt like it wasn't safe, but it wasn't okay, or I wasn't powerful enough to say something to her. And that made me really annoyed, like, this person is making me realize how inhibited, how restricted, and how fearful that I really am. And it's not necessarily that I don't like her because she talks too much. It's like I don't like myself for not being able to stand up for myself. So she's not the problem that's causing the annoyance and the resentment. It's ultimately myself. Ooh, this sun is kind of in your face, but I hope that's not too obtrusive. And coming back to the idea of fractals, right? So I don't like her for talking too much, and it's really annoying to me, but chances are I talk a lot to someone else that finds me really annoying, but they don't say anything, and I'm completely unaware of it. It's like the patterns in a minute chart to an hourly chart to a weekly chart. It's like you think, oh, she is so annoying, she is so beneath me, she is so uneducated, she's such a swine, I'm so much better than her, she should know better. And then you start talking to someone else and they're like, oh my god, this guy is so annoying, he's so uneducated, he's such a swine, yada yada yada. So chances are what you see in someone else, you are also doing to another person on a different scale, in your own scale. So it's like, it never helps to just condemn other people and be like, oh, that's so fucking annoying. It's like, yes, you could do that initially, you can journal out to kind of make you feel better, kind of get your fucking emotions out, and so you can think clearer, but then it's like, you gotta think to yourself, am I doing something myself that is actually creating this behavior, creating this reflection in my reality for this to show up? And chances are, it is. Like, everything fucking is, man. Like, everything that comes into your reality somehow is there to tango with you. It's like, if you have a empty space within you, wind is gonna come and fill up that space. It's like how it's like how wind works, right? It's like if there's a void in the air, or actually maybe I don't really know that well, but it's like maybe there's empty space, it's like the air rushes to fill it, and that's how you have wind. So it's like if you have empty space, and it's like fucking the universe rushes to fill it with some sort of reflection in the external world. So then it's like, well, instead of condemning the thing, it's like, well, what is creating the hole within you? It's like, why don't you try and patch that up, then, because chances are that will actually solve the problem. Or sometimes I see other people as like being such a victim. It's like, oh my god, they're such a victim mentality person. Why don't they just fucking take responsibility? But then I'm like, I reflect back to myself. It's like, fuck, actually, I do the same fucking thing. And it's like, when I'm condemning them, it's like, I have no awareness that I'm doing that at all. But then, if I really think about it, I'm like, shit, I do that. And that's like the moment you have that realization, you can actually start taking responsibility and changing yourself for the better. So like, one thing you can do is like, you can journal what you like or don't like about other people, because chances are you have the exact same qualities or potentially the opposite qualities of what they have. Because sometimes it's like, if you're too weak in one thing, someone else with the contrast thing will come to show you how weak you are, right? So it's like, if you have low boundaries, then someone that has really strong boundaries that always opposes your boundaries will come and just kind of keep pushing you until you get to the point where you're like, fuck, it's do or die, and you fight back, right? And that's how you learn. Push a spring down so that it springs back up. But like, sometimes the spring just doesn't want to go up unless you push it down far enough. And that's what the universe could do to you if you aren't willing to push yourself back up. Whoa, holy fuck. I just had a fat realization of myself and my own world. That's it's always trippy. It's like I wrote here as well, like what I teach others, I teach myself, and it's always the case. Like if you find you have some message that you keep telling other people, chances are you need to tell yourself that message. It's like, in a way, it's so fucking meta, man. It's like, while I'm doing this, I'm teaching myself how to teach myself. Like, but my point was, like, notice if you feel like there's a recurring theme that you keep telling people, chances are that's something you need to hear yourself. And oftentimes, like, I guess I don't really share this because I don't want people to think I'm being a fucking hypocrite, but I think we all are, right? When I make videos and I'm telling people do this or do that, it's like, I'm like, yeah, I got this concept mastered, I got it figured out. But then like a week later, I'm like, holy fuck, I need to do the thing I told other people to do, and I had fucking no awareness that I was even doing it, right? That's like, you can intellectualize it, but sometimes you don't even internalize it. And it's like, you can intellectualize it, perhaps internalize it on a scale that you can see, but chances are where your shadows lie and your issues are, you fucking can't see. So it's like, until you actually get to that point where you can internalize aspects of you that you can't see, you haven't fully finished learning that lesson. But I think it helps a lot to first intellectualize the lesson so you have some semblance of an understanding, and then over time the universe might present you with opportunities to actually use your intellectualization of the lesson that you think you've learned to actually put it into practice and be like, yo, boom, fucking clear that stage, bitch, yeah. Or, you know, you might be nicer about it with the less profanity. And you know, there's that whole thing of like, you are the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? But that's such a chicken or an egg situation, you know? Because it's like, who you are attracts the people in your life, and it's like, who the people in your life influences you for you to be who you are. So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? But I'll argue, in this case, it's the chicken, it's you. It's like, who you are is attracting the people into your life. And it's like, if you look right now at the people that are the closest to you, chances are that is your like average vibration wavelength frequency. That is who you are, or the aspects of those people are very much present within you, like right now, not just some fucking, you know, you're trying to think to the past. It's like, right now, the people in your life, okay, maybe not literally right now, but let's say like the people you live with, the people you work with, the people you hang out with, like on a very recent basis, not just the people that you think are cool, but the people you actually hang out with, chances are those people are the people that are the best reflections of who you are. And it's like, if you fucking, you know, slice and dice them and average them out, it's like, well, that's fucking who you are, and that's where you are in your life. And sometimes it's like, if you don't like the people around you, it could be a really hard pill to swallow, because you're like, oh fuck, I don't like who I am. But it's like, the only way for you to start being who you are and start being who you don't want to be is to first realize where you are, so you can actually start navigating yourself to where you want to be. In a way, I really feel that we are here to get triggered, like in the sense of like being affected and feeling things, because I think a perfect being wouldn't get triggered, because nothing would, it's like they wouldn't even exist. If they're completely at one with the universe, that's what they will be reflecting. Their world will be essentially perfect and uniform and perfect universal harmonization. You probably wouldn't meet them, right? Therefore, like, they wouldn't exist, so to speak, in our reality. But it's like the fact that we are existing, the fact you are watching a video of me, a very, I suppose, broken person trying to heal himself, is representative of how fucked up you are. I'm just kidding. Of how you are also on the same journey of having this experience, having these healing and level ups, and this journey of life that we have chosen to experience. So in a way, you can be thankful for your triggers, because that's what allows us to learn, but that's also allows us to exist kind of like in this reality. And I think the sooner we can accept that and embrace the fact that is what's happening, the easier of a time we have navigating through life. I would also say what's happening within you internally, psychologically, spiritually, is also happening. It can also be represented physically. For example, with the alchemists, like, everyone knows there were these like fucking hooligans trying to like convert lead into gold, right? But like, yes, there was that physical aspect of alchemy, but also alchemy had a very spiritual spiritual aspect where it's like you're trying to convert the lead of your soul into gold, and it's like the 7 principles of alchemy, which I might do a video later, physically can be applied to you psychologically or spiritually. And it's like if you go through that process of alchemy spiritually, then you are transmuting yourself into the philosopher's stone as like a divine complete being. So if you start noticing things physically in your real life, that could be a representation of something psychologically, and vice versa. At the same time, I know I've said this before where like, oh, things are for you to learn something, but it's like I don't think necessarily the universe is that personable. Like it's like, hey, I'm your guardian angel, I'm here for you, I'm gonna hold your hand, and you know, it's all that lovey-dovey kind of stuff. Like I don't think it's necessarily that. It's more so that it almost feels like, for me anyway, the universe is just this this reflection machine. Perhaps we have created, or perhaps I have created a reflection machine where it's like what you are just naturally gets reflected into the world, and it's like these people and situations that come into your life that supposedly is for you, that help you learn something for yourself. It's like it's not really coming into your life because there's this like some loving intention to try and help you. It's like it's just, it naturally can't not happen because of what's within you. It's like what's within you is naturally creating these things, so it has to happen, and whether or not you choose to make something out of it is up to you. Again, this is like the whole law of attraction, law of mirroring, law of correspondence. Like the universe is not there to hold your hand. It's literally just mirroring what's within you. And what you choose to do with that is completely up to you. Like you can just have the worst fucking time of your life, and that is not an invalid experience at all whatsoever. But it's like you just ultimately choose what you prefer to have, and you just do that. And if it makes you happy, good. If it makes you sad, good. It's like, like I don't think there's anything that you can label as bad. It's all just experiences, you know. It's like different flavors of jelly beans, you know. Like some people really like the weird wacky flavors, right? And it's like, who's to say that it's wrong for them to like the wacky flavors? And it's like you can choose what kind of flavor your life is. Now we're gonna go even more meta. So imagine that this is like a game you're playing, right? Like, you know, we are in a game, we are in a dream. But it's like, how do you play the game as you? It's like a first person, well, not a shooter, but it's a first person perspective game, right? And it's like, if you want to learn how you actually play your game as you can look at how you actually play video games as you playing video games, because chances are that's how you actually play yourself in this reality. Like especially I think with RPGs, role-playing games, because that simulates reality a bit more, whereas like I think even with like a first-person shooter, I think the way you approach the game obviously would differ to how another person potentially could approach it. Like, you know, you could even argue like your how you play games, like what kind of games you play and how you play games is like almost a personality test of who you are as a person, right? You know, but that's a whole other topic. And it's like, regardless of that, if you observe how you play, because like I observe how I play RPGs, and it's like I notice there's a very specific pattern, and it's actually very similar to how I go about life. So it's like for example, if there's like a lot of possibilities, it's like in the game, it's like I like to actually kind of taste a bunch of possibilities first, because before I go full into one, because I'm afraid that if I go down a possibility, then it's like I'm fully going into that thing, but that could be the wrong thing, or it might not be the best thing, and it's like I'm afraid that if I go down that one thing, I'm going to miss out on something else. If I just had taken the time first and foremost to just explore another path that could have taken just, you know, a few seconds, you know, especially like with games like Final Fantasy, it's like if you go let's say the next level before you take the treasure chest from this level, then you permanently miss out on the treasure chest, right? So I'm like, well, I don't want to miss out on these juicy treasure chests, right? Because that's really fun. I like getting the treasure chests, and it's like, well, you know, rather than just kind of like going bulldoze ahead, it's like I like to actually have a bigger picture view of what the fuck is happening, and then kind of like prioritize or go through a plan of like what I really want to do. Then it's like at the end of it, I'm like, oh fuck yes, I fucking got everything, and it could be very satisfying. But also that could be really paralyzing, because it's like if I overdo it, then I kind of like I'm not having fun. It's like I'm doing work and it's just fucking boring. Then I'm like, fuck it, fuck the treasure chest, whatever, just have fun, just play the game however you want to, just pick the choice that feels the most fun at the time. And it's like I notice I do that with my life as well. Sometimes I overplan, I over try and see everything, and it's like I'm trying to have this massive fucking beacon into life and just figure out everything, and then before I do it so that it's fucking perfect and it's safe. but sometimes that fucks everything up. The more you try and plan things with your mind, it fucks things up. Sometimes you just gotta let your heart drive yourself and just fucking, SE it, extroverted sensing, just be in the present moment, just fucking go ahead and just do the thing. And you don't look back, don't fucking dwell on the past and be like, oh, but it could have been like this, could have been. No, fuck it. There is no could have. There is only one straight way ahead. It's like you could have done that thing and you could have been hit by a truck. You could either believe that there could have been a better path, or you could just believe that what you chose is a perfect thing. Because usually it is. And it's like sometimes thinking that, oh, the path you've chosen from your perfect planning is a perfect path, sometimes it could be the worst possible fucking path as well. So it's like you can really never know what is a perfect path for you. So you just gotta play essentially in the way that is most satisfying for you. I think that's the only way you can win. Like sometimes I think planning is a really good idea and is actually really fun, but sometimes just being in the moment and not giving a shit is also really fun. So it's like, again, it's a balance. Like you don't want to overdo one side or the other. It's like at the moment, it's like present, like moment to moment, which is what you ultimately have. It's like, are you choosing freedom to do what you really want to do? Are you choosing fear because you're afraid that if you don't do the thing, something bad is going to happen, right? And also, it's like, do you like playing really hard games? Or if you play games, do you play it in hard mode or do you play in easy mode? Because I know, for example, Dark Souls, or if you play Kingdom Hearts on like critical mode or something, it's like, it's actually, for me, it's more fun to play in a harder mode, because when you succeed, it feels like you've actually, you have more merit in succeeding in the hard mode. It's like you've actually gone through this process. It's like the harder something is, the more satisfying it is when you actually achieve it, right? So it's like, if you find yourself, you're choosing the hard things in games to get off from the achievement of doing it, being like fucking shoving it in the face and be like, fuck yeah, I did this thing. Like I was weak as hell, but I still did it just purely through my own merit, not because I had some OP, equipment or whatever. It's like chances are you're also doing that in real life. But it's like if you choose easy fun games that are quite easy, but it's like maybe the payoff isn't as good and it's more just chill, like like Animal Crossing or something, not to throw any shade, then chances are that's also the kind of game, the kind of life that you are playing. So analyzing how you play a game can actually give you a lot of insight in how you play your own game of life. And even with things like astrology, it's like, oh, like Mercury is in retrograde, or this planet is conjunct this planet, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, because of these things in the stars, this is potential mood that you could be having. But it's like, are the stars affecting you, or are you creating how the stars are affecting you? It's the chicken or the egg thing again, right? It's like maybe there's a part of you internally that is creating the movement of the stars, and it's like you're looking at the stars to look at yourself. And I think there is no separation between you and the stars. You are creating the stars. You are affecting the movements of the stars as much as the stars are affecting the movements of you. Sometimes it's like you look at astrological reports and you're like, whoa, it's so accurate. This is such a good science. But it's like, it's only accurate because it's literally reflecting what you are. The planets are only in the way that they are. They're only being interpreted in the way they are. You're only listening to this girl on YouTube interpreting them in the way you are and giving you this very specific messages because you are precisely creating that. And it's like you're just simply choosing to look outwards as a way to look inwards. It's like you can look inwards to look outwards, but you can also look outwards to look inwards. It's all the same thing. So I would say don't get too swept away in external things affecting you, because you are more likely than not affecting them as much as they are affecting you. So that's everything I kind of wanted to talk about in this video. This is 3 times longer than I thought it was, so I might break some of these down in separate videos and easier digestible pieces later. But I suppose my final message is like, you are the universe. The universe is potentially literally inside of you, and if you understand yourself, you understand the universe. If you conquer yourself, you conquer the universe. Change comes from within. Is that what Jesus said? Or, be the change you wish to see in the world, which is what Gandhi said. And I think that's literally it. Because, like, there's only so much you can actually change in the external reality. Like, through physical actions, like, I think there's only so much. But through the physical actions of changing your external reality, it might change something within you internally, which I think will ultimately be the best bang for your buck of changing things externally. And I've witnessed this a lot in my life, where it's like sudden change in your internal consciousness, or a certain bravery that you might have can change your reality so much quicker, like so quickly, than you trying so hard, to take actions and change the external world. It feels about that. I just realized something again, that I'm doing this to myself. Then you are trying to push a boulder up a hill. So with that, my dear friends, I implore you to look within yourself to see what you can do to make yourself into the best you can, because, well, I'll tell you, my dear friend, that is going to make the best world that there can be for you, tailored for you, only for you, VIP OnlyFans world for you. I salute you and Godspeed. I love you, appreciate, and I thank you. Mwah.